I'm about to simulate the Man City versus Liverpool game 100,000 times. Watch closely. 3, 2, 1, done. In the time it took you to blink, my code just played the entire 90 minutes 100,000 times. And the result it found is offering exceptional value. It's got Manchester City winning 67% of the time, odds of 149, against the bookmakers' odds of 194. Now in this game, the final score was 3-0, which was one of the top 6 scores the simulator predicted. And again, there's exceptional value here. Watch to the end of the video and see how the simulator performs in an entire week of Premier League football matches. The version of the software I'm using is currently version 6. Version 5 is the one freely available once you become a CGM Bet customer. There is no real difference apart from a few calculation tweaks behind the scenes. So as you can see, we can enter the team names for home and away, as well as the average goals they score and concede. You aren't really going to want to do this though. Doing it this way misses out so much data. The best way to do it is an export from CGM Bet, as this brings in the average goals for the league and also the odds for each match. This is vital for spotting value. When the data is loaded, you can run the simulation once, up to 100,000 times in one go. You can run multiples of these for even bigger sample sizes. Older versions of the simulator, and in fact the one we give you a taste of on the Lessons in Logic website, play games much slower. This version is lightning and gives you instant results. So we'll take the games in the order that they're played. So the first one on Saturday morning is Burnley versus Chelsea. So we can see now we've loaded the CSV file in and the team names have now changed. And we can see Burnley score an average of 1 at home and concede 0.8. These numbers have removed outliers, so numbers that are typically not in the normal range have been removed to stop skewing the figures unrealistically. You can see Chelsea away from home score 2.4 on average and concede 1. The goal scaling, you can change that if you think it's going to be an unusually high or low scoring game. And also home advantage, you can adjust the value on that accordingly, and also the goal dependence number here, which we're going to leave as a default in all of the games that we're going to test. So now we've got the game loaded, we can see the odds that are in CGM Bet for each of the key markets. And with that, I think we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate this match 100,000 times. And I'm not going to pause the video while this is doing. I'm going to click this button and we'll watch in real time how long this takes to simulate all the games. There you go. So that's 100,000 games now simulated. So what does the data tell us? So the headline data is saying that the most likely outcome is an away win at 52.6%. And the most common score is 1-0 to the away team, Chelsea in this case, 12.3%. And the average goals per game is 2.55. Now we can see from the heat map here that 0-1 is indeed the most common score at 12.3%, closely followed by 1-1 at 12.2% and 0-2 at 10.1%. And we can see the heat map here for every other score in the simulation. The goal distribution, we can see that 2 goals is the most common at probability of 25.7%, and then 3 goals after that, 21.6%, and we can see that on all of the particular goals per game. So now moving down to the main data. The simulator has Burnley winning 22.1% of the games. This is implied odds of 4.5, which is against the 6.4 at the bookmakers. So these odds are in green here, as they're implying there's value in backing Burnley against the bookmaker odds. And the same goes with the draw. So the simulator has the draw at 3.95 for Burnley, whereas the bookmaker odds are 4.80. And Chelsea are actually 1.9, so that's in red because that is not value to back. It possibly is to lay. But even though Chelsea still are favourites in this game, they win more than half the games. The odds, there's an odds discrepancy between what the bookmaker is suggesting and what the simulator has simulated. So what you can see here, obviously the home win and the draws are in red, and the reason for that is anything that has less than a 30% chance of occurring is in red, and anything that has over a 60% chance of occurring, according to the simulator of course, is in green. Everything in between is in black. So looking at the both teams to score, it's a coin flip really. It's just a shade over 2 for that. And what we're seeing is all of the over markets. The simulator is saying that the odds are a little bit skinny on that. There's no value in backing those. In terms of the correct score, then the simulator will always highlight the 6 most common scores regardless of percentage. So in this case, we've got 0-0 with odds of 13, 0-1 at 8.2, 1-1 also at 8.2, 0-2 9.8, 1-2 10.5, and any other away win is 13. The half and full time scores just highlights the outcome at the end of both halves, and the team performance is similar, but it breaks it down differently. The winning margins does exactly what it says. It just details the winning margins for each game simulated. So away win by 1 goal is the most common, and 75th minute comes back, shows how late goals have gone in during the simulations, but we don't actually pass any goal time information into the simulator. This is just what the simulator's found, not based on any live data. The sequences is a useful section, as this enables you to identify winning and losing streaks in key markets during the simulated games, and the volatility gives a standard deviation value of how wide the results in all games were. So a figure around 1.5 indicates the scores were tightly packed. Anything around or over 2 means the results were more volatile and the range was a lot wider. We can save these results as a PDF document, and this gives us all the information that we've got in our web form, just so that we can refer back to it at a later date. And if there's any odds in the software, then obviously they've come through as well. We've got the volatility, we've got the sequences, and we can check the overs and unders and the match odds, as I've just mentioned. So in this game, I would say that the lay on Chelsea probably is the optimum decision to make. We're getting value in the other 2 markets, and we'd also put a fictitious Dutch on the top 6 scores identified. So we'll run through this process for the other 9 games over the weekend, and then we'll come back with our analysis prior to the games kicking off. So we've run all the games now through the simulator, and these are the outcomes that I've deduced from the data that's come back. Some of the columns I've left blank because the odds that the simulator gave back were very close to the odds of the bookmaker, so there'd be no advantage either way there. You can see we've got the correct scores, which potentially Dutch those. We'll see how those get on. And we've got the outcomes on the main match market and the over 2.5 goals, not under. So these are all related to the over. So we'd be laying over 2.5 goals in 4 of the games and backing over 2.5 in the other. So all that remains now is to come back after the games have been played. The final one, the Manchester United game, is on a Monday evening, and hopefully the simulator will get more right than wrong, but that remains to be seen. So while we're waiting for the games to start, we're just having a little bit of fun with another project that I'm working on. Is my trading exchange, which is like the old style simulators. This one's a little bit different, whereas it keeps the profit and loss across all of my selections, regardless of which markets they're on. So we'll do a couple of these just to show how it's working. So we'll take the Burnley versus Chelsea game. So we're going to lay Chelsea, and we're going to back these scores at kick-off time. So if we lay Chelsea, and we'll keep it at £10 stakes. I've got no commission in here at the moment. And if we go down to the correct score and change that to a Dutch, the scores were 0-0, 0-1, 1-1, 0-2, 1-2, and any other away. So 0-2, 1-2, any other away. And we'll Dutch that for £10. So we've got both those selections in, and we'll go to half time. So we'll let that run. We can't change the speed on this because obviously we're acting as we go in, and obviously the profit is changing there, the odds are moving. So we'll keep this going till half time, and we'll reevaluate our position. So you can see the profit is still going up on all the markets at the moment. Half an hour in just gone, and Chelsea haven't taken the lead yet, so that's looking good for our lay bet at the moment, and 0-0 at half time, so that is good. So what we'll do is we're going to the second half. I'm going to turn on the pause on goal, which gives us time to act when something happens. So we're an hour in now and Chelsea still haven't taken the lead in this game, and things are actually looking pretty good for us. Obviously a Chelsea goal will put that part of the bet in jeopardy. I think we're going to be okay on the correct scores, and we may actually get both sides of the bet to win here with just 7 minutes to go. So yeah, 0-0. We made £16.84 out of that game. And finally, we'll have to do it. We'll do the North London derby, Arsenal Spurs. So we're laying Arsenal, and we go 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 0-1. 0-1 is 50, and 1-1, 2-0, 2-1. So we'll place those bets, and let's start the game. A Tottenham goal would do us good here. It's gone to Arsenal, so that's not a good start for us in more ways than one. Of course, with this simulator, you can change your position midway through the game. So it's now 2-0 to Arsenal. It's now 2-1. Spurs have pulled one back there. So 2-1 at half time. So looking at the correct scores in this game, we won 2-1. We haven't got anything other. So another goal in the second half will give us a loss on that. We can only hope if another goal does come, it goes to Tottenham. Otherwise, we'll potentially be taking a full loss on this game. So let's see what goes on in the second half. We could potentially cash out when we get out of the red, and in fact, there 2 quick Arsenal goals have killed us dead in the water pretty much. So we've lost the £10 on the correct score and the £2 on the liability for Arsenal. So this is a real battering for Spurs. Hopefully, it doesn't go like this in real life. This is what the simulator is giving us on this one occasion. So if you remember, on the 100,000 runs, it told us to lay Arsenal. On this one occasion, Arsenal have won quite convincingly. So you can see on the 3 games we've tried here, then with £10 stakes, we've got a £10 and 4p profit. It's worth saying there's no commission in here, so you can take your 3% off that. That's a quick view of the sports trading exchange software that I'm working on at the moment. It's just a bit of fun really, but it's used in the same calculations as the main simulator. But we'll leave that for now, and we'll check the real results when they come in over the weekend. So welcome back to the video, and we're now looking at the results of the simulations. And as you can see, it's been a bit of a mixed bag here. More red than green, but we'll explain that as we go through. So Burnley versus Chelsea, the value was in Burnley or the draw. Now it's worth emphasising at this point, the simulator did have the highest probability of a Chelsea win, but the odds were not giving value against what the bookmaker was offering. And that is how we've come to all of these predictions. We are just looking at games where there's value, because ultimately that is where you make your money. We got the correct score. It was 2-0 to Chelsea, and that came in nicely. The Bournemouth versus West Ham game, West Ham were 2-0 up quite early on, so that really put us on the back foot. And even though Bournemouth came back to 2-2, we lost on both of those. We've got no opinion here on the over 2.5 goals, because the odds for that were close enough to the actual bookmakers' odds for there to be no value back in either way on that. Brighton versus Brentford. So Brentford took the lead in this one. Brighton came back to lead, and then Brentford missed an injury time penalty, which was good for us because that would have lost us on both. But as it turns out, the home win and the 2-1 result came in. Fulham versus Sunderland. Then I think this was either 1-0 or 2-0 to Fulham, which obviously was the home win, and under 2.5 goals, and the 1-0 or 2-0, whichever it was. I can't quite remember, but that came in as well. Liverpool Forest was a complete shock to me, I must admit, even though Liverpool are playing badly up until a few weeks ago, so were Forest. We thought they'd be under 2.5 goals according to the simulator, and it was obviously 3-0 to Forest, and that 3-0 score line also gave us a red on correct score. Wolves versus Palace, which was 2-0 to Palace, so the away team won. We didn't quite get the over 2.5 goals, but we got the correct score. And Newcastle Man City. Man City were the favourites in the simulator. I think they were about a 42% chance of a win, but the value was in the draw on Newcastle. So laying away there, won for us. The score was 2-1 in the end to Newcastle. The lay of the over 2.5 goals lost, but the 2-1 final score did win. So that was the end of the Saturday games, and we were doing quite well at that point, but the Sunday games obviously really killed us here. Leeds took the lead against Villa, which was a good start for us, but then Villa came back to win 2-1, which meant that the home win outcome didn't actually happen. The under 2.5 didn't happen, and the 1-2 scoreline we didn't cover. Arsenal versus Tottenham, we had a lay home. I mean, being a Spurs fan, there's no way I would have agreed with these predictions. So it proved. I mean, Arsenal were the heavy favourites in the simulator, but they were just not value again, and we're just looking for value here. In reality, I probably would have left this game alone based on the simulator's results. We can't really be picky and choosy, so we went with it. So obviously it was 4-1 to Arsenal, and we didn't get any of the correct scores either. But interestingly, when we did our one-match simulator through the new model, it did have the 4-1 score on that game. The simulator did favour Arsenal, but just over the 100,000 games, the odds were imbalanced, and that's what we're looking at. Man U and Everton, obviously Everton were down to 10 men very early on, and then took the lead, but Man U being Man U couldn't come back, and that was a total loss. So out of the 24 events that we were looking at, only 10 won, which is pretty poor. Let's not beat about the bush. We would have expected higher than that, and we normally do get higher. Earlier in the day on the Saturday, I tweeted out a couple of winners from the simulator. So in the Turkish game here, we'd gone for an away win, which was 65.2%. Wasn't value, but the most common correct score of 1-0 to the away team, which was nearly 15% of the times. The game finished 1-0. And if we look at the Paderborn Hanover game, then the away win here, the bookmakers odds were 3.10. We'd got the away win at 40%, which translates to odds of around 2.45. And we can see the final score there was 2-0 to the away team. So the simulator does work a lot of the time. It's just that an off day or an off weekend in the Premier League. Even the Saturday we were doing very well, but the Sunday and the Monday, the results just didn't go our way. But I'm not here to say that this simulator can read the future. It just shows you where there's an imbalance in the odds. And it does that very well on most occasions. And in my opinion, is still the best simulator out on the market, and especially for free, should you be a CGM Bet customer. And if you're not, then why not? You're missing out on a hell of a lot of functionality, which will certainly up your trading game. That's a quick overview of how the simulator works. Would have been nice to have shown some more winners, but that's how it goes. And we will continue to use it over the season, and without a doubt it will improve even more, and the CGM Bet customers will get that benefit. So if you've enjoyed this video, please do give us a like and subscribe. We are now getting extremely close to 2,000 subscribers, and it would be great to hit that before the end of the year. And if you want this software, then join the CGM Bets Discord server. Purchase the software through the Lessons in Logic link to get you an even bigger discount, and have fun. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.